She told me her ex-boyfriend drove her around for hours while she sat in the passenger seat of her car, bleeding out from 10 gunshot wounds.
I'm sorry.
Shem Pit did not think she would survive it.
Right here, I have a bullet wound.
She says on November 2nd, in a fit of rage, her ex-boyfriend Joshua Woodruff shot her 10 times.
I see the inside of...
She didn't just get shot. She was forced to sit there, bleeding, while the man who was supposed to love her drove around for hours like nothing happened. 10 bullets, a locked car, and a phone call where her life meant nothing. When Shem Pit thought she was meeting Joshua Woodruff just to talk, she had no idea she was walking into the most terrifying night of her life. No warning, no goodbye, no chance to run. 1 minute it was a conversation. The next minute it was gunfire echoing inside her own car. Fans are shocked. Friends are heartbroken. And the internet cannot believe this was real. Because this wasn't just violence. This was control. This was an obsession. Imagine sitting in the passenger seat, fighting for breath, while the person beside you is calling other people not for help but to ask what to do with your body. That's not a breakup story. That's a nightmare. And just when you think it can't get any darker, it gets worse. Because what happened after the shooting is the part nobody was ready to hear. Stay with us, because the full story behind Joshua Woodruff and Shem Pit will disturb you, shock you, and make you question how someone you once loved can become the greatest danger to your life. It started the way dangerous moments always do, quiet, normal, almost boring. A simple message. I just want to talk. That was all it took to pull Shem out of her house and into her car that night. No screaming text. No threats written in ink. Just a calm voice pretending to be reasonable. Joshua had always known how to sound calm when he needed something. He had perfected the art of using softness like a weapon, lowering his voice, softening his eyes, acting like every problem could be solved with one last conversation. And Shem had always believed people deserved one last chance. She didn't know that was the most dangerous thing about her. According to what she would later describe, that night felt different from the moment she pulled up. The air didn't feel right. Something about his body language felt off. Too stiff. Too controlled. Like someone forcing themselves to stay calm. He slid into the passenger seat quietly. No smile. No warmth. No patience. For a few seconds, neither of them said anything. The sound of traffic outside filled the silence. Cars passing. Music playing faintly from down the block. Life was moving forward while hers was about to freeze. Joshua finally broke the silence. So, are we really done? Shem stared straight ahead. I think it's better this way. That's when his jaw tightened. Every woman in America knows that tone, the shift from softness to danger, in one breath. Better for who? She didn't answer at first. Better for me, she finally said. That was it. The moment she said me, the conversation changed. Joshua laughed quietly, that empty laugh people do when anger hasn't fully erupted yet. So, it's about you now? It was always about you? You don't care what this does to me? Shem tried to keep her voice steady. Every instinct told her she needed to end this fast. She reached for the door handle. That's when he moved. Fast. Too fast. The door locked in one violent click. Shem snapped her head toward him. Open the door. Joshua didn't move. Instead, he slowly reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. Shem couldn't even scream at first. Her brain refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. A real gun. In the car. In his hand. He didn't point it out yet. Just held it there. Heavy. Quiet. Threatening. You gonna leave me? He asked, calm as ever. Her hands started shaking. Joshua, don't answer me. I just want peace. He tilted his head, studying her face like he was learning it all over again for the last time. You don't walk away from me. Then he lifted the gun and fired. The first shot exploded inside the car like a bomb. The window shattered instantly, glass spraying the dashboard and the seats. She screamed as pain ripped through her body like fire. Before she could process it, another shot. Then another. And another. The sound inside the car wasn't gunshots anymore. It was thundering. Gunfire echoed off every surface, trapping her in sound and pain with nowhere to go. Her body jerked violently with each impact. Blood spilled across the seat, the door, the floor. She didn't even realize she was screaming until her throat burned. By the time the gun went silent, everything in her life had changed. The gun dropped into Joshua's lap. Smoke hovered in the air. Blood soaked through her clothes. She was barely alive. Joshua sat there breathing heavily, staring at her like he couldn't believe what he'd done, or maybe like he couldn't believe she was still alive. She collapsed sideways, pressing her hand against her body, trying to stop blood she couldn't even see. Her vision blurred. Voices outside sounded distant. Her ears rang like alarms that refused to shut off. She whispered his name weakly, not for forgiveness, for help. He didn't respond. Instead, he started the car. The engine roared to life, and the nightmare turned into something else entirely. He pulled away from the spot as if nothing just happened. No screaming, no rush to the hospital, no panic for her life. Just streets, lights, traffic. Shem faded in and out of consciousness as the city blurred past the shattered window. Pain washed over her in waves she couldn't fight. Her body felt cold, heavy, wrong. At some point she realized he wasn't driving toward help. He was driving away from it. She tried to speak. Her lips barely moved. Please, Joshua didn't look at her. Instead, he picked up his phone and dialed. The first call was short. The second one was worse. Shem could barely hear voices on the other end, but she recognized the tone in his voice when he spoke. Panicked. Low. Whispered. He wasn't asking for help. He was asking questions. She heard one sentence clearly through the ringing in her ears. I don't know what to do with her. Her heart collapsed inside her chest. The man who once held her hand was now asking people what to do with her body. She tried to fight. I tried to scream. Her body didn't obey. Blood soaked her clothes. The seat beneath her was wet, sticky, warm. She whispered again. I just want to live. Joshua kept driving. County after county passed like scenes in a movie she couldn't escape. Street signs she didn't recognize. Roads she'd never been on. Everything is unfamiliar. Everything is final. She begged him weakly between breaths. Just take me to the hospital. No response. Instead, another phone call. Another whispered conversation. Another moment of reality crushing her chest. Then he spoke again. You got anything you want to say? She forced herself to open her eyes. He was looking at her like someone saying goodbye. Her voice cracked. My son, she swallowed blood. Please let me write something for my son. Joshua looked away. Didn't answer. She closed her eyes again, certain she was dying. This wasn't supposed to be her ending. Not in a car. Not like this. Not next to the man she once trusted. Blood loss made everything float. Her thoughts scrambled. Memories haunted her. Her child's face, her laughter, her life before this nightmare. She thought, this is it. Then suddenly, the car slowed. Street lights became brighter. White building. Bright doors. Joshua turned into a parking lot. And stopped. For a moment, she thought he had finally chosen to save her. Instead, he opened the door, grabbed her weak body, and dragged her across the pavement. People screamed. Security shouted. Joshua tried to disappear, but he didn't get far. The hospital doors swallowed her as she collapsed into unfamiliar arms. Doctors rushed her away. Lights flashed above her. Voices shouted. Machines beeped. She floated somewhere between life and death, and didn't know which one would win. And as she slipped into emergency surgery, one thing was certain. She had survived the bullets. But the true damage had only just begun. Because what happened after she woke up, what she learned, what she discovered, would shatter her in ways the gun never could. Machines breathed for her when she could not. Tubes filled the places where hope used to be, and every beep in that hospital room was a reminder that her body was still fighting, even when her mind wanted to give up. Doctors called it a miracle. 10 bullets, hours of bleeding, Trauma stacked on top of trauma. She wasn't supposed to survive. But when her eyes finally opened, the first thing she saw was a ceiling she did not recognize and a doctor whispering words that felt unreal. "You're alive. You're in the hospital. You're safe." Safe. The word felt foreign. Safety was something that existed in another lifetime. Not this one. The reality came crashing down slowly. Pain arrived first, crawling through her body like fire under her skin. Then memory followed. The lock clicking, the gun flashing, the glass screaming as it shattered, the sound of her own voice begging through blood and fear. Her hands moved weakly, touching bandages she did not remember, feeling stitches she did not ask for. Her body was still here, but she wasn't sure if she was. Her mother came in quietly, afraid to make noise like the sound itself might break her. She held Shem's hand the way mothers do when they don't have words strong enough to fix what life just destroyed. She cried without sound, pressing kisses into her daughter's knuckles, as if love could stitch wounds guns had opened. And when Shem whispered her son's name, the room fractured all over again. The child she had promised to protect. The child she almost never saw again. Then the police came. Soft voices. Notebooks. Careful questions. And each one dragged her back into that car, bleeding in the passenger seat while death sat behind the wheel. Where did it happen? What did he say? How many shots? When did he drive away? Every answer reopened what doctors had just closed. She told them everything. The way he looked, the way he didn't panic, the way he called people, but never once called for help. And when she described hearing him ask what to do with her body, the room went silent. For the first time since waking up, Shem watched grown men lose their breath. Officers wrote faster. Deep lines appeared on their faces. And one of them looked at her like he finally understood something terrible. This wasn't rage. This was something else. Outside the hospital, the world found out. And the internet exploded. News outlets ran headlines. People shared her photo. Comments flooded in. Anger boiled. Strangers cried for a woman they had never met. And while the world reacted loudly, Shem healed quietly, inside a hospital room that now felt smaller than any prison cell ever could. Her son came to visit. He walked in slowly, frightened by the machines, confused by the tubes, not fully understanding why his mother looked different now. He stared at her bruised face and whispered the question no child should ever have to ask. "Mommy, did it hurt?" And she couldn't lie, but she still tried. She smiled weakly and told him she was okay. But the truth was, she wasn't. She wasn't okay in her body. She wasn't okay in her mind. She wasn't okay in her heart. The mirrors showed her a stranger. A woman stitched together by doctors and held together by willpower alone. And at night, when the world finally went quiet, the memories became loud. Every dream ended in gunfire. Every sleep ended in panic. She jumped at footsteps in the hallway. She was startled when the nurses moved too quickly. Her hands shook every time she heard keys jingle, because keys reminded her of locks. When she was finally released from the hospital, the world did not feel welcoming. It felt dangerous. Her house no longer felt like home. Her car felt like a coffin on wheels. Her phone felt like a ticking bomb. Every unknown number made her heart stop. Every unknown car outside her home made her stomach drop. Safety did not come with discharge papers. She started therapy, not because she was weak, but because she wanted to live without fear of owning her future. And slowly, painfully, she learned something that mattered. Surviving violence doesn't make you strong. It makes you tired. She sat in waiting rooms with women who carried stories heavier than their faces showed. Some cried. Some shared. Some stared into nothing like their souls were still deciding whether to come back. Shem realized she wasn't alone. She was one of many, and that truth was both terrifying and empowering. When the court date arrived, her body reacted before her brain did. Her hands shook. Her breath shortened. Every step toward the courthouse felt like walking back into that car. Her mother held her arm tight, not as a crutch, but as armor. Inside that courtroom, time moved differently. Slower. Colder. Joshua was there, sitting, quiet, not looking at her. And for one brief moment, she expected him to say something, apologize, explain, regret. But he didn't. And that silence hurt more than anything he had ever said. The prosecutor spoke. Phone records were shown. Location data revealed the path he drove. Medical reports proved how close she came to dying. Every piece of evidence stitched another layer of truth onto a nightmare that had already been too real. When Shem finally took the stand, her heart nearly collapsed. This was the moment she feared most. Not because she was weak, but because she had to relive everything in front of everyone. She spoke about guns, the lock, the blood, the phone calls. And when she described hearing him plan her death like a chore, the courtroom cracked emotionally. Tears fell, jaws clenched, and Joshua still did not move. When she stepped down, she was not relieved. She was empty. The trial dragged on longer than anyone wanted. Delays created tension. Rumors spread. Online debates ignited. People questioned every detail as if pain could be fact-checked into something easier to digest. But Shem didn't argue. She lived. And that was enough. The community rallied around her. Donations came in. Messages flooded her phone. Women told her she saved them without ever knowing their names. You gave me courage. You made me leave. You reminded me I mattered. Shem did not feel like a hero, but she understood what she had become. A warning, a mirror, a survivor. And slowly, in quiet moments between doctor visits and therapy sessions, she began to feel something strange. Not happiness, not peace, but control. For the first time in a very long time, her life was hers again. Then one night, a phone call changed everything. It wasn't from a journalist. It wasn't from my family. It was from someone inside the investigation. And what they told her made her sit down in the middle of her floor in shock. Because Joshua hadn't just called people at random that night. Some of those calls were answered. And some of those voices knew more than anyone had admitted. And as new names surfaced quietly inside official records, she realized something terrifying. The man who tried to kill her may not have been the only one involved. And that truth, it was more frightening than the bullets. The revelation hit Shem harder than the bullets ever did. The fact that someone else had been quietly in the background, guiding, whispering instructions, it made the nightmare she survived even darker. Every phone call, every pause in the car, every decision Joshua made suddenly became part of a larger, chilling puzzle. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't focus. Every familiar voice, every unknown number, every knock at the door made her heart race. She realized the danger had never really been behind her. It had been layered, hidden, multiplying. The court dates approached with agonizing slowness. Each day felt like walking back into the car, into the moment when everything shifted from a conversation to chaos. But Shem no longer felt like a victim in that courtroom. She felt like a warrior walking into a battlefield that had already tried to claim her life. When she gave her testimony, she recounted every detail. The car, the phone calls, the relentless hours of terror, the silence, the planning, the way she clung to life while someone else schemed behind the scenes. Her words were steady now, precise, sharp, cutting through the tension in the room. She wasn't shaking anymore. She was deliberate. She was powerful. Every listener, every juror, every officer felt the weight of the horror she had endured. The public followed every twist, every revelation. News outlets, social media, local blogs, Shem's story spread like wildfire. Fans were shocked. Support poured in from women across the country who had survived abuse, threats, or violence. Messages reached her through emails, texts, and comments saying, "You gave me courage. I left my toxic ex because of your story. Your strength saved me." Shem wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't performing. She was alive. She was real. And through that reality, she became a beacon for survival, a warning to those still trapped in controlling relationships. Yet the legal side of the story moved slowly, painstakingly. Joshua was charged, and his accomplices, if they existed, remained in shadows. Evidence was strong, but the law required methodical steps, delays, and hearings that tested Shem's patience and resilience. She returned to the hospital for follow-up visits, went back to therapy, and tried to resume a sense of normalcy. But normalcy had shifted forever. Every day she looked at her son. Every time she held him close, she was reminded why she fought, why she survived, and why her story mattered. The pain was still there, the scars were still there, but so was the fire. Shem began using her experience to speak publicly, carefully, intentionally. She told her story at events, interviews, and online platforms. Her focus was clear: to prevent someone else from suffering what she endured, to raise awareness about abusive patterns, to highlight how obsession and control can escalate to unthinkable violence. She explained how small warning signs often escalate, how threats hidden in calm words can become deadly, how anyone can be caught off guard when manipulation disguises itself as love. Her voice, once trembling with trauma, now carried authority. Her story became a lesson, a survival guide, a call to action. As Joshua's trial progressed, new information surfaced. Investigators revealed that he had attempted to cover his tracks, but digital footprints and witness testimonies slowly unraveled his plans. For Shem, hearing these revelations was simultaneously terrifying and cathartic. Terrifying because they confirmed how meticulously her life had been endangered. Cathartic because the truth was finally coming to light, proving that she had survived against premeditated malice. Each day brought small victories, subpoenas served, evidence admitted, witnesses heard, and the sense of justice, while incomplete, began to feel tangible. Through it all, Shem had to face her own mental battles. Flashbacks came in vivid waves. Sleep was interrupted by memories of the locked car, the gun, the relentless driving, the phone calls that decided whether she would live. Panic attacks surfaced at unexpected moments. But she learned to cope. Breathing exercises, therapy sessions, support of friends, and family became her anchor. Slowly, she reclaimed agency over her life. The woman who had once been silenced by fear was now articulating her story, commanding attention, and inspiring respect. Shem's relationship with her son also transformed. Where fear once shadowed their bond, now trust and openness guided it. She explained, in age-appropriate ways, the importance of safety, awareness, and self-respect. She became vigilant, protective, and empowered. Her mother, who had been by her side every step of the way, became a constant source of encouragement and reassurance. Together, they created a cocoon of care, one that reminded Shem that surviving wasn't just about physical recovery. It was about emotional resilience, reclaiming life, and fostering connections that strengthened her world rather than threatened it. As the trial reached its conclusion, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Joshua appeared weary, detached, unrepentant in the public eye, but subdued by the weight of the legal process. Shem, poised and steady, faced him with quiet determination. Every word she spoke resonated with power. She was no longer just recounting a nightmare. She was asserting that survival came with voice, visibility, and accountability. When the jury deliberated, Shem's presence, calm and controlled, reminded everyone of the stakes. Justice was not only about punishment, it was about affirming life against attempts to destroy it. After the final verdict, Shem walked out of the courtroom carrying herself differently. Not healed entirely, not free from trauma, but alive, aware, and stronger than the darkest night could ever make her feel. Supporters embraced her. Media recorded her statements, and she continued sharing her message, emphasizing awareness, prevention, and empowerment. Her story became a symbol, a lesson, a cautionary tale, and above all, a testament to survival against extreme odds. Shem realized that surviving the bullets was only the beginning. Surviving the aftermath, the fear, the trauma, the legal battles, and the scrutiny required constant courage. But every day she woke up, she made a choice to live, to speak, to fight, and to ensure that the story of her survival could serve others. Her life, though altered forever, had meaning beyond the chaos Joshua had tried to impose. And with each public appearance, each interview, each message sent to women in similar situations, she reinforced one truth: strength isn't only surviving bullets, it's reclaiming life on your own terms. And even as the media moved on, headlines changed, and people's attention shifted to the next breaking story, Shem's journey remained. Those who remembered it carried it like a warning, a story of survival, and a challenge to recognize danger, act before it escalates, and respect the value of every life. Because surviving isn't always about justice in court. Sometimes it's about finding power in the aftermath, finding clarity in chaos, and standing tall in the face of a world that would rather ignore such horrors. Shem's story didn't end with Joshua's conviction. It extended into the lives she touched, the lessons she imparted, and the awareness she raised. Her scars, both visible and invisible, told a story of resilience. And her presence, speaking out, living boldly, and reclaiming agency over her life, became louder than any gunshot ever could. She had been through what no one should endure, yet she rose, not as a victim, but as a survivor, a voice for herself, and a warning for others. And in that strength, she found the freedom that bullets had almost stolen, and the clarity that Joshua's actions could never erase. Shem survived the unimaginable. 10 bullets, hours of terror, and the haunting reality of a life almost taken. Yet here she stands, alive, fighting, and speaking out. Her story is not just hers. It belongs to every woman, every person who has faced control, obsession, or violence disguised as love. It's a stark reminder that danger can come from the people we trust most, and that awareness, courage, and action can make the difference between life and death. Her journey shows us that survival isn't just physical. It's emotional. It's mental. It's about reclaiming your voice after someone tried to silence you. Every therapy session, every interview, every public message she shares is a piece of power she refuses to let go. And the truth is, even after surviving, the path forward is challenging. The scars remain, the memories linger, and the fear can return. But so does resilience, hope, and determination. Now it's your turn. What would you do if faced with someone who refused to let you go? How far would you go to protect yourself, your family, or your loved ones? Share your thoughts below, because this story isn't just shocking, it's a conversation starter. It's a lesson about recognizing danger, trusting your instincts, and refusing to be trapped by anyone else's obsession. If you felt Shem's fear, her courage, her survival, don't just scroll past. Hit that like button. Subscribe to stay updated on more stories that expose the truth behind shocking events. Comment with your thoughts, your experiences, or how you would have handled the situation. Your engagement helps amplify awareness, reminds people they aren't alone, and honors the bravery it takes to survive against impossible odds. Remember, every share spreads awareness. Every comment sparks dialogue. Every view acknowledges resilience. This story isn't ending. It's just beginning. And the lessons Shem leaves behind will continue to resonate long after the headlines fade.